Aleeza, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. I know that you're very, very busy matchmaking, probably, and going on a lot of different podcasts. So thank you for being here. I first got to know you from your Netflix special, which was awesome. I loved it. And then a
Yay.
friend of mine actually reached out and said, "Hey, you should have Aleeza Ben Shalom on the show." I was a client of hers. She's awesome. And I was like, "Yeah, make the intro. Let's make it happen." So
Amazing.
it was meant to be for you to be on the
See,
show.
a client was a matchmaker for us. It's perfect.
He learned the methodology that you teach and he came and he
Yeah.
matchmaked us. That's amazing. So give us a little bit of history. How does one become a matchmaker?
Yeah, it's such an interesting thing because you don't grow up going, oh, when I grow up, I want to be a matchmaker. And you don't go to school and say, oh, yes, I'm going to take the course to become a matchmaker. There's nothing like that that actually exists. So matchmaking for many people is actually a strong, it's like an internal drive, desire. It's almost like a divine mission that we're on to help people to find a partner and to build a beautiful life. And I started online matchmaking. There was an online site, and my girlfriend was on it, and she's like, yeah, you can do this. You can help the Jewish people. You can match them up. And I'm going, this sounds great. Then I started matchmaking. Then I would call people. Then I started coaching. They're like, oh, you got to train other people how to do this. You're good. And I was like, wait, what? And it started to come together. Then I started a company and I started to train people to become matchmakers and coaches. Then I brought more people on my team, and so end of the
Wow.
story is that I ended up with a Netflix show talking all about matchmaking and how to bring Jewish couples together.
So I had no idea that you have like a company, many people under you. That's incredible. So it's not just
Yeah.
you, like in the old school days, just the matchmaker with your bag, and like we watch in the
It's not the
movies.
little yenta schlepp. I mean, I am schlepping from community to
You
community,
you
but
open
with
up
my
your
suitcases
you open up
and
your
my
notebook, it has
big
pictures of people
black
in it.
book. Yeah. Yeah. So it's now my database, which is, my computer, which is my
Yeah.
black book. And no, we have so many different modern ways of matchmaking. I am doing an international tour, a world tour right now. And
Amazing.
I've been going to different communities. Australia is next on the list, and then back to the USA. I just came back from South America, and it's been tremendous, really, really tremendous.
So watching your show, and I dove deep. I binged it, and first of all, I was like, "This is pretty cool. This is awesome." There were moments, and I'll be transparent. We're like, "Oh, that's not going to be a good match," and then like they would get together. And you're like, "Wait a second, that could work out, right?" So you have like this innate sense, like this divinity, as you said, this divine like eye to be able to see that. Let's talk about. I'm married, so I want to talk to the guys first who are single listening to this. We also have a lot of divorced guys who are looking for their next match, and they don't want to make the mistake that they made with the first one. What is it that you look for when putting together a good match?
Oh, that's such a good question. So the first thing I would say is qualities, and I define qualities as personality and values. So personality, we've got to know that we get along, that we match, that we mesh, that there's that chemistry between us, that we have something to build on. And values are, what are my beliefs in the world? What do I want out of life? And how am I going to find a partner who's in alignment with that? Not perfectly, not exactly, but enough that we can collaborate as we grow together to build a relationship for a lifetime. That I would call in the positive categories of things that I look for. And in the negative or the challenging side, I would say that we all come in to any relationship with an amount of fear. We have past traumas, some are significant, could be abuse, could be addiction, could be a poor relationship that we were in, or one that we saw from our parents or other people around us. And we have certain like this fear blueprint within us, and we come in uncomfortable getting into a relationship. And some people you meet and you're like, I can't believe it. You don't trigger anything in me. This is amazing. Like all my stuff, I got my stuff. I got my therapist. I'm going to work on it, but I don't have to with you. Not so much. It's so much easier. And then other people trigger us and we're through the roof. And you're like, wow, you are really good looking, but you are a piece of work. And this is never going to work
I've
with
been there.
me.
I've been there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And like, I want to look at you, but just don't open your mouth. We'll be better off if you just don't say anything. And so we don't want to be with somebody that triggers us to a degree that we can't handle for a lifetime. Yeah, you're going to be triggered, but just not to such a high degree.
I love that.
That's the beginning.
In thinking about like my wife, and I hope she listens to this. The reason why one of the reasons why I chose my wife is because she gave me peace. You know, and there was a lot of other women I was dating and having fun with and whatever. That is exactly what you said, was like, right. I'm like, God, she's so hot, but she's so cuckoo. Like, just like there's craziness that like that brings something up in me,
right.
You know? And I think that like for me, it still happens. I think there's still something that happens in a relationship where like I have to consistently work on myself. Right. My wife works on herself and we work on us together. But I love that you said that. It's like when you find somebody that gives you peace, when you find somebody that doesn't bring up the past in a way that like brings the trauma to the forefront.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love your description of peace, because that's the overarching word. And we want to have shalom bayit, when we want to have peace in our home always. And you have to have a partner that brings that to the table. And that's like the big picture, and then the definition of it is what I gave you. So like if you're just like, oh, I just want somebody who brings me peace, people are like, but what does that mean? Oh, well, that means that your values are in line, your personalities mesh, the things that you're triggered by you can handle, it's not too much for you. And that's kind of like, I think together you and I put together a really good definition of that.
Now I'm Sephardic. I was born in Turkey. And I got married late at 31. I just remember when I was growing up, my mom would always say like, Yalla, let's go get married. And I would say, Mom, why are you pressuring me so much? And she would say, because you're gonna get used to living by yourself. And when you get used to living by yourself, you get very, very picky trying to find somebody else. So I'm going to guess that when you're matchmaking, people are like, I don't want. This is like a list of I don'ts more than I wants. How do you deal with that when you're putting two people together?
First of all, I want your mom's phone number. She's a good matchmaker. She gives excellent advice. That's fantastic. I'm so on board with her advice. Everybody has a list of what they don't want. Everybody also has a list of what they do want. And it's bringing those two lists together. And I can't just have what somebody doesn't want. I have to know also what they do want. I have to know what makes them tick, what makes them happy, what brings them joy. And at the same time, okay, this is a deal breaker for me, so don't cross that line because this won't work for me. So I personally, if you saw Jewish Matchmaking on Netflix, then you know that I'm non-judgmental. I want to know everything. You're going to just keep doing a brain dump and giving me all the information and the lists. And I'm okay with that. Like, it's perfect for me because then big picture, I really understand what's going on for somebody. And so it's not just that I understand, it's that they understand and that they can explain it to me, and it can be explained back to somebody else that we're trying to match them with. So I do think knowing what they don't want is also important. And I'm a list person, so I actually like lists. I'm not anti-list. So it does help us in terms of matchmaking.
I did see that there was no judgment, because some people on the show would ask for like some stuff and you're like, come on, man, like you're like, stop it. And you just said, you're like, okay, you had your notebook, you just wrote it down, you're like,
okay, we're gonna try to find it, we're gonna try to find it. But I mean, look, if at first we don't succeed, try again and tweak what you're looking for also. That's also another method. So
you're essentially like interviewing them and going deep into like what's coming up. I have a curiosity. Have you ever told anybody like, hey, you're not ready yet, you got to work on this issue because it keeps on coming up? Does that happen in the matchmaking world?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And I say, I want you to find what you're looking for, and I want you to find what you want, but today you don't match that. And so let's get you to a place where you match what you're looking for. And then let's start dating. Let's take a pause. Whether they need therapy, they need to take a break, they need to get a job, they need to make a move. There's a lot of things in people's life that they need to work on.
Yeah.
We definitely take a pause.
Love that. Okay, good. So it's not just like, hey, let's put it together. It's looking at the person wholly, 360, to say like, hey, what you're asking, like, I want somebody who's really, really healthy. And you're like, well, you're kind of not. That's going to be, weird.
I love it when people do that. Like, no, I'm going to be the unhealthy one in the relationship. And I'm like, what makes them attracted to you? Obviously, if they're healthy, they like healthy. Why do you think they will want you? And they're like,
yeah, I want her to have 6-pack abs, but I want to eat like 6 packs of donuts a day. That's what I love that. I want them to motivate me. That's what I want.
That, by the way, classic line, right? They should
Really?
just be a little higher, better, holding at a better place than I am, and they'll bring me up. And I'm going, and what are you going to do for them? And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, I didn't think about that yet.
Well, I think it's something that's, people always think I married up, right? Like, well, I married up, and they're the ones who do that. And I think that, like, being married myself, we both have to motivate each other, because there's times in our marriage that we're both down. 2.5 years ago, my father passed away, and I was not okay. And my wife is like, I'm giving you this is what she said, I'm giving you a year. She's like, after the year, get your stuff together, but I'll hold down the fort. And because of that, I was able to go to therapy and do what I needed to do. And likewise, she had an issue with her father at some point. I had to hold the fort. And so that's what makes it strong. I want to kind of like go into strong marriages. Like, I think there's a point of the matchmaker where it's not just like, oh, you're a good match, but you're a good match for a long time. You're a good match forever, right? So now we've got like the list. This is what I want. This is what I don't want. What makes people match well together forever, right? For the lasting relationship that everybody wants to have.
People with a generous nature, a loving nature, a giving nature, a caring nature. I know that they're going to be people that can have and maintain a relationship for a lifetime. So having one person like that is great. Having two people like that is amazing. And similar to what you described with your wife, where she carried you through that period, and you said to her, like, I'm going down, right? You got to man the fort, because I just can't. I had the same thing. My mom also passed away. 6.5, 7, 2016, whatever the math is.
7 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah, 7 years ago. And I went down, and my husband totally carried me, carried the home. He was there for us. And communication. You have to be able to talk to somebody and share, here's where I'm at. Here's where you're at. Here's where I got to step down. I need you to step up, or let's make a plan, because this isn't working anymore and we need a new normal. And I think that when you break it down, everybody knows how to have a good time and have fun. That's not the hard part of marriage. You want to marry somebody who you can have that with, but you know that on your own. What you don't know is when crisis, when challenge, when difficult things come to you, how do you as a couple handle that? And if you can handle that with grace and ease, and you can overcome it, wow, you're going to be in a great spot.
Do you think people's wants and needs are skewed today because of social media? And I ask because, guys and girls are swiping up, swiping left, swiping right. They're seeing stuff. And sometimes I feel like their wants and needs aren't what their like heart desires. It's what their mind and their eyes are seeing.
Yes. 100%. I agree with that. I think that we are inundated with content, with information, and for us, it's overload. And some people can process it a little bit better than others, and some people can filter it. Other people end up addicted to social media, and they're just scrolling and looking. And what you see on social media, it's a form of reality. You just don't see the other side. Oh, they're happy. Oh, I want that. Okay, but did you see at 4 o'clock in the morning, when somebody was vomiting, with a fever, and this one's waking up, and then this one's in the hospital, and that, like, did you see that? Oh, no, you don't see that. Why? Because that's not on social media. You want that? You got to go to the newspaper, but nobody's reading the news. Everybody's on social media seeing, like, look at me. I'm in Bali and I'm having the time of my life. And this is awesome. And I have just a wonderful life. And then they go home and they, have a fight because they were too busy on social media and they weren't even on vacation. So I think that it is skewing people's views. And I think it is, it's challenging real relationships to even get started. Like getting it going is like, oof, the beginning, so difficult.
So we've got the relationship started. Let's get off of social media, or just at least be able to consume it correctly. I think that one of the things, when I was getting married, nobody asked me, like, what do I want? Nobody asked me. It's really funny. At least I'll tell you this. We were driving the other day to a trip with my wife, and the girls I have 3 daughters. They're in the back seat. They're watching their iPads. It's a 4-hour drive. And I turn to my wife and I say, I don't know what you want. And she's like, what do you mean? She said, I'm like, I don't know what you want, like emotionally, intimacy wise, financially. And I said, I guarantee that you don't know what I want. I said, we got married 11 years ago, and we were 2 people back then, but I think I've changed. I've become better. Lots of therapy, lots of self-work. So people change, right? So my question to you is this: I have my list of my wants and my desires. You put us together. 10 years later, my wants and desires change. Or the person that I'm with has changed. I know a lot of guys who say, God, when I got married, my wife was very healthy, right? Now she's, because of the kid, whatever the reasonings are, she's become unhealthy, or vice versa. I have a lot of friends who've got, dad guts, right? Like they've gained 30 pounds.
Dad bod.
The dad bod. And when they got married, they were healthy and they were running, and that's who you married.
Yeah.
How do you have a conversation with people, or how do you deal with those situations when somebody says, hey, I married Mr. Fit, not Mr. Fat? What happened? Right? And yes, I'm giving. Yes, I want to be there. But now it's like, let's go back to the conversation 15 minutes ago. Now it's bringing up those traumas. Now it's bringing up stuff that when we were together, it didn't.
Right. Now it's bringing up that fear of maybe I'm going to be dissatisfied in my relationship, and maybe I'm not going to be in love and feel connected for a lifetime. And what am I going to do about that?
Correct. Or, my fear of, my father was unhealthy. And so I got married to somebody who was fit because I wanted them to live long, whatever that is, whatever, How do we deal with the longevity of the match when people change over time?
So first of all, we have to go into a relationship knowing that somebody will change, and probably not in the way that you desire. Maybe they will, and you'll be lucky. Yay, we won't have anything to talk about. But most likely there'll be ways in which they change that I don't actually love, value, or appreciate. And it is difficult to say, I picked you, but you're not you anymore, right? Like, so I don't want you anymore. Like, let me just exchange. I'll just swap out and get a new model. I'll get a new model. I can make that happen. So first of all, we have to realize why we got into this, and to remember the foundation and the core of who this person is to me and what they mean to me. And then we need to go through an understanding of, where are they now? What are they going through? If they're experiencing something physically and their body isn't the same as it used to be, maybe they're unhappy, maybe they don't like their job, maybe they're under a tremendous amount of stress, maybe there's been some trauma or loss or some other family things that are going on, and it's preventing them from stepping up and being their best selves. Maybe they've lost their energy or their motivation. There's a lot of things that are going on. So that can bring up an amount of empathy, compassion for the other, to look at them and go, wow, this must be really hard. I mean, I'm looking at you, I've got my own interpretation, but wait, let me just stop for a minute, pull me out of my body. Let me step into your shoes, really sit with that for a minute. What are you feeling? What are you going through? And to internalize that and go, well, okay, let's take a step back, right? Forget, it's not about the body, right? It's about what's going on internally. And let's talk about that. Let's get to a place where we can build our connection again. By building your connection with each other, it helps to empower. It's almost like a battery, like it's like jump starting a car. Like I'm empowered, but you're not feeling so empowered, right? So I jump start you, and then we're running. We're both running. Now we can empower each other. Now we can go side by side through life. But you're always going to have somebody that's higher and lower, and happier and more depressed, and somebody that's motivated and somebody that is really lacking it. There's always an amount of balance in a relationship. And if you're up, the other person is either slightly above you, or they're going to be below you, or could be way above you or way below you, but you're not really going to be matchy, same. It's funny, in the beginning of a relationship, we have these special glasses on where our eyes, it's like the clouds of glory, and everything is just perfect, and we're the same. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. This is why we should get married. I love you. You love me. It's amazing. This is fabulous. It's perfect. You're good enough. This is wow. Okay. And then all of a sudden, over time, the clouds of glory disappear, and you're like looking directly at the problem, and you're going, oh, that's what I picked. And then you get disappointed in yourself. I chose that. Is that all I'm worth? This is nothing to do with you. They have a problem. Why are you taking this personally? Right? So we have to get out of our own way. We have to get out of our own heads. We have to empathize with what's going on for our partner. We have to see where they're at. We have to have a little bit of compassion. Like, wow, like if their side of the room is really a mess and something's going on, you're like, something's going on in their world. What's going on? How can I be there for them? Those are the kinds of questions we should ask, as opposed to like, oh my gosh, I'm so dissatisfied. Like, oh, you were good. Now that you're no longer perfect in my eyes, which by the way, you were never perfect. I just wasn't seeing clearly. I had rose-colored glasses on, but now that I pulled them off, oof, you got to fix yourself. It's like, no, we We are in this together. This is our problem. This is our time. And yes, you will work on your things, but Jewish math is 1 + 1 = 1, right? It's you and me equals we. It's us. It's together. It's one. It's not you and me and it's two and I do my thing and you do your thing and yay, we come together when we're happy. No, I'm going to be there for you also in those other times. And those times can last a day, a week, a month, a year, a decade, God forbid. They can last a long time. But just as in the way that things go down, things pull out and they come back up. So you have to ride the wave. Like you can't just get off midstream. You'll never know the potential up that you could have had.
I love that. And I have a mentor who I work with once in a while, and he says, if you want your relationship to improve, you have to pray for the good in the other person. You have to see the good in the other person. You have to ask for the good in the other person, and not just be like, oh, look what they're being, look who they are. Because if you keep focusing on the negative, you're just going to bring forth more of that negativity. So if you see them, and if you pray, if you're praying in the morning, whenever you pray, you say, like, I just want her, I'll talk about my wife. I want her to have more peace. I want her to be okay. I want to, be more giving, as you said. It brings more of that. And really, I've tried it and it works. It's kind of weird how the universe works with that.
Isn't it amazing? It's amazing.
Yeah, because I think that, like, once you get into that negative spiral, that's when all that comes, like, and you start looking at social media and you're like, look at their perfect marriage and they're taking vacations and they have so much money and you can't do this and you can't, like, it just becomes a barrage of negativity.
Yep.
And then you just add more and more to the sandwich of
look, in the same way that we have the clouds of glory in these rose-colored glasses when we first get together. So after you're married, you kind of have those black gray glasses where you look out and you're like, and then you take them off and you look at somebody else's marriage and you're like, rose-colored glasses, they're perfect. And then you put them back on and you're like, my life lousy, it's virtual reality. We're like playing with ourselves, I'm soothing myself that, like, I could have had it better if I would have made a better choice. What? No, this is who you're supposed to be with. Let's make it work.
Now, let me ask you this question. I'm sure those guys who are listening have this question. You've been asked this many, many times. A wrong match, does that happen?
Okay, so everybody who gets married is supposed to be married, but not everybody who gets married is supposed to stay married. So majority, yes, you should all figure out how to fix your relationship. I'm in the dating world. Let me just tell you, it's not easier and it's not always better. And I have had so many people come to me who've been divorced and they're like, from everything you've taught me, like, I kind of wish I would have known that when I was married. I might have done things differently and I might have gotten different results. And I didn't realize all of this. Like, I just didn't know what to do and how to do it. And I just thought getting out was the easiest thing. And I'm like, no, leaning in is the better thing. You can't just wish it to get better or hope it to get better. You have to have, I'm going to call it tools. You have to have, ways of digging into your relationship in the right way to get the right results. And if you're not getting the right results, either A, your relationship could really be broken, or more likely, B, you're not doing it right. Because you could do it in a way that works. You know how I know? Because you married them in the first place and you knew how to do it right before. So you do have the ability to do it right again if you should have the desire and the motivation and the will and the right mentorship and the right tools.
Love that. So in saying that, because you talk about mentorship and tools before you get married, what tools should people be using while they're married? Is it go to therapy? Like, I'm a leadership consultant and expert, and everything that I teach is it's your fault. And when it's your fault, you need to go fix you, right? You need to go work on you first. Like, I can't be like, oh, my wife. I'm like, no. I need to go to therapy. I need to work on me. Then I can go to my wife and say, like, hey, this is what I'm seeing. How do we work on this together? Because I can't bring my trauma with her trauma and just pack on the trauma and try to solve it that way. So what should couples who are newly married or married be working on, right, that you teach in the dating area that they need to continue within the marriage?
Into the marriage area. So I love what you said. And I think that it is a combination of working on the me and then working on the we, right? The me is, I have the ability to solve this problem. There's something going on. Yeah, there's two of us, but if just one of us makes an effort, we could actually solve this, and you might not have the capacity to do it. So let me take this on. So yes, I'm 100% in alignment with that, which is work on yourself. But in terms of your relationship, I would talk about open communication, which means you have to be able to speak, but somebody else has to be able to receive and listen. And you can't just tell me, oh, my partner doesn't know how to listen. That's fine. You can have a conversation with them where you teach them how to listen, right? You can tell them, listen, I want to have a conversation. This is a financial conversation. I know we always fight when we have these conversations. So I want to like play the game, right? Let's have house rules. I want to tell you something for 2 minutes, and I want to share something. Right now, I'm not actually open to feedback. I want you to just receive what I said, like kind of repeat it back to me. I want to make sure you understand what I said. Then I want to stop the conversation. And then tomorrow or in 2 days, I actually want to pick it back up. And then I'm going to be able to receive and hear what you said. I need to get it out, but I'm not open yet to feedback. When do you ever have a conversation like that?
Yeah.
What?
I think
You really,
yeah.
I mean, that's a lot of work, but once you know the tools, it's almost like magic. It's like you wave a magic wand and you literally took a conversation that could have blown up your relationship and created a fight for the next month. And you just gave yourself the tools to actually have a real conversation. And in 2 days from now, by the way, if you have a conversation and it's not going well, you can interrupt it and you can say, listen, I want to continue this conversation. We're totally spiraling. And before we end up with a whole week of not talking, let's put this on pause. Let's go back. Like you have to be like the 2-year-old crying on the floor, like, let's play, and two seconds later, you have to be able to bounce. You got to go from one to the other. Yeah, we could solve a problem. Oh, no, we can't solve a problem. Put it to the side. We'll deal with it tomorrow. Oh, but it'll never get solved. No, it just won't get solved today. And that's okay. Take a breather. We don't have to solve that today. And maybe not tomorrow, and maybe not next month. We've got a whole lifetime together. Man, do we have a lot of days to solve this. Now let's focus on some good things. Let's build ourselves up. Go out on date night. Go have fun. Go experience your relationship in the positive. And then say, let's try to have a healthy, short discussion on the things that we're struggling with.
Love it. Now, back in the day, I think it was the 90s, Paula Abdul came out with a song called Opposites Attract. Is that true or not?
Yes, it is true. And yes, it is more challenging for opposites to stick together long-term because what attracts me to you also rubs me the wrong way. Like I like it and yeah, I get married to it and I'm like, yeah, that used to be hot and now it's just annoying. I don't really like that. So opposite, I say, listen, men and women are different enough. We have enough differences. Yes. You're opposite already. By nature, you are built physically, emotionally, spiritually opposite. We are built as opposites. Find somebody that you have stuff in common with because you have enough things that are opposing. We have to build the bridge of connection and have things that are in common.
Now, talking about that, I just came from Mexico. I was there for 10 days. My wife is from Mexico City. They, back in the day, I don't think it's recently, but they had a lot of rules, right? Which was like, hey, the Sephardim married with the Sephardim, Ashkenaz with Ashkenaz. And they would always say, why? Because marriage is hard enough. For you to jump in with different ideas and then different traditions is even harder. I married an Ashkenaz Jew. Thankfully, she doesn't cook Ashkenaz. If you're Ashkenaz, I hope you don't take offense to that.
Right?
We don't have gefilte fish and borscht and any of that stuff, thankfully. But what's your take on that when it comes like diving deep into the Jewish world, when you have different communities, different backgrounds, Ashkenaz, Sephardic, and then within the Sephardic community, you have Halevi and you have Shami and you have like Turkish, and like, how does that come into play when matchmaking? I know that there's a saying that's really funny that my wife says sometimes. She says, Sheina Mishpacha, which is Ashkenaz for, the family, you marry the family. And so what's your take on that?
So it depends how enmeshed you are in your culture. A lot of people with rich traditions, if you bring them together, it is like oil and water. It doesn't exactly mix. And, you're having your gefilte fish with your, harif spicy. And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. So it is sometimes a challenge. But like you said, so your wife, you're like, but she doesn't cook Ashkenaz. She cooks Sephardi for me, right? So she overcame that for you. And one side usually, thank you, wifey. I love you. But thankfully it happened, but one side usually has to shift, because if we both hold our own ground, right, then we're both in different directions, and we're both in different worlds, and we're not coming together.
Yeah.
So we are Ashkenaz, but we have, like, I have Sephardi blood on my mom's side, so we have like some Sephardi customs traditions that like trickle down, and the other side, you know, we both have the matzah in the fishach. You probably know nothing about this.
What's that?
Yeah. I'm gonna give you a little lesson here. You know the gefilte fish that comes in the jar with like the jelly. You know about that? Yeah. So you take out the gefilte, but what do you do with the jelly? You boil it and you add salt and pepper, and then you sprinkle it over your matzah and you soak it in the matzah, and that's called matzah in the fishach. Yeah. Okay. My husband and I both have that custom. We don't even know anybody else who has it. We were like, oh,
I think you're the only two people on the face of the planet who have that custom. That's why you're a match made in heaven.
We are so shared. We have the matzah and the fishach custom.
If you find somebody else who eats that, you get married.
You got to tell me. I got to know if somebody else has that. But it's like a thing. Like, and both of we got together for Pesach, and they're like, oh, they make it too. Oh my gosh, it was hysterical, right? So I could just imagine getting together with a Sephardi, you know, on Pesach, and they're eating rice, and they're like, what are you doing? That's treif. You can't eat rice on Pesach, you know. And you have a whole thing, but in all seriousness, I think that it does take one side leaning towards the other, because if we both stand our own ground, we're not a we, we're just a me, and we're doing our own things. And we have to bring, what are you going to raise the kids with? What are the customs of the house? What are the traditions? Yeah. And for some people, they'd be like, oh, well, neither side was super strong. No problem. We are going to do a little Ashkenazi, a little Sephardi. We're going to blend it together, and like, poof, it's fine. We don't care. That's what we're going to do. It's possible, but more likely one side has to lean into the other side happily, besimcha, with joy, and that's going to really help the marriage.
I think it's really important. Like, now that you're mentioning this, I don't think my wife and I, we ever had a conversation about like, hey, how do you want to raise the kids in the future? Like, what customs you want them to have? Like that conversation never came up. When I was dating, I'll never forget this. Went out with a Jewish girl, went to a restaurant. I'm not fully kosher. I don't mix milk and meat. And now that I'm kosher with meat and chicken, but back then I wasn't. And I ordered my chicken sandwich without cheese. And she's like, ew, why would you not put cheese on that? And I was like, because I don't mix milk and meat. She's like, why? I'm like, all right, we're done. Like, finished, done, we're over. It's that easy, you know? But like, we talk about the change. My mom had a stroke 2.5 years ago. And for some odd reason, from divine intervention, I'm like, I got to eat kosher meat and chicken. And I came to my wife one day, I'm like, hey, today, not tomorrow, today, we're eating kosher meat and chicken. She's like, hold up a second, like, this affects us. Hold on, we have a conversation. I said,
this is a big decision. Like, I got to go to a new market. What is this?
I said, listen, for right now, it's just me. Like, we'll get into this slowly. And she was like, okay, this is gonna suck at first, and we'll figure this out. But like you said, she leaned in, and we figured it out. You know, we figured it out.
But it's a couple thing. And what I appreciate about your side, you said, right now, this is just me. Okay. This is not the whole family. This is not everybody, you, whatever. No judgment on anybody. I need this. I need this. And I need you to lean into this for me in our relationship. And she said, yes. I think that's tremendous.
Yeah. I didn't walk in like, the whole house is kosher now. That's it. Finished. You know, I just said, like, it's me, and then we'll figure it out. You know, we'll slowly but surely, we'll see where we go. Aleeza, this has been amazing. I think this has been as valuable to the married guys as it is to the single guys. Hopefully, if some women are listening as well, hopefully it's valuable to you. I think I think we don't just have a match in a couple, we have a match in what we do in life. And I think that you're perfectly matched to matchmake, right? And I think you know that, and you're so good at that. So keep putting the Jewish people together. My belief is, I want people to marry Jewish and raise Jewish kids, because there's such a rich history, and Judaism is so beautiful. I think sometimes that we digest it incorrectly, and we just need to learn it a little bit more and dive into it, each on their own journey, whatever that looks like. And I think that when you matchmake people, they're on their own journey of that. And so matching them with that perfect person just brings them towards who they truly are inside even more. So thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. For those of you listening, thank you so much for listening to Tribesmen. Stay tuned for the next episode. Aleeza, thank you so much for being here. And let's not forget, if you want to watch Aleeza, you can watch her on Jewish Matchmaker on Netflix, it was an awesome show, by the way. I really, really enjoyed it. They can also find you on social media, on YouTube, Instagram, at Aleeza Ben Shalom, and we'll put that in the show notes for them to find you. And just so that they know exactly what you do, what are the services that you do, and how can you help others who are listening?
So I work as a matchmaker and a dating and relationship coach. We work with singles from 18 to 89 has been our oldest client. We offer courses for personal growth, for personal improvement through the lens of dating and relationships. And we have coaching and matchmaking services as well. And we are motivated to helping Jewish people across the globe come together and build happy, healthy, long-lasting relationships.
Amazing. Reach out to Aleeza if those are the services that you want, not just need. And as I say to everybody here who comes on the podcast, may you be blessed with chazak ubaruch, strength, courage, and blessings. Thank you so much for doing what you do, and thank you for taking the time for being on the show.
Amen. Thank you.